I find a lot of clients and collectors will want to have a justification of why there is a certain price tag attached to certain work. And so, I mean, you're starting with, you know, the artist and, you know, usually their first show. How do you work with the artist to determine what price is a logical and a fair price on a work?
It's the question I'd probably get asked by 99% of the students that I deal with. So we talk about different things. I mean, if they have sold work, maybe they did the Toronto Outdoor Art Show. So if you sold work there, use that as a guideline. Sometimes it comes down to mathematical formulas. Figure out a price per square inch, per square foot, whatever works for you. And I actually had one artist who was really struggling, and she used that methodology. It came up, and she sold work. So I guess it worked out. But there's usually if there are more senior artists and they've been creating work for a while and selling it for a while, if they have a selling history, I use that as a starting point. And other than that, I often just say I use comparisons. Here's some other artists who had painting. They're kind of at your level. The work is kind of, you know, there's not I don't think there's an exact science to it.
No, it certainly does come down to the experience behind
it definitely
behind
does. And one thing I find that is tricky with young students who don't have a lot of experience is they go into a commercial gallery and they see works for $6,000, $7,000. So they say, I'm going to charge $7,000 for my painting. Right. And I'll say, oh, it doesn't really work that way. You know, you have to start a little lower.
Yes, and you know, I think there's something, and I think Michael and I were speaking about this last night at the opening for the event, you know, about it's very important, I think, as well, to keep an emerging artist price point at a very, you know, start at a nice low point and keep your volume of sales high. Mm-hmm. You know, and it's much more important, I learned that from you, Tien, to get things out there to as many people as possible and have more people see your work, rather than feel like you're putting, you know, a high price tag, and that in itself should speak to the value of the work, because it's not going to translate, you know, and you're limiting your market. Yeah, would you say so?
Yeah, I would say that as a young artist, the more work you have out in people's homes, offices, and spaces, the better you. It's like having a billboard with your name on it in every place there's a painting or a photo or whatever the medium might be. And as a young artist, you always have the ability to create more work. You may sell your favorite piece and wish you had kept it, but it's out there working for you, promoting your future work. Mm-hmm. You don't want to undersell your work or oversell your work as a young artist. Once you establish a price, you've got to stick with it. You can't have one piece go for $5,000 and one piece go for $1,000, and to the public they can't tell the difference. You're just more attached to one than the other. Right. And what that says about the work that you're producing afterwards, if you're not going to establish that price and maintain that price, is that the best piece you ever did and you're ever going to do, or are you falling behind or moving forward? So maintaining professionalism and consistency in pricing, and starting where you can, starting low as a young artist and working your way up, is much better than trying to get as much as you can for a piece and not being able to maintain that. If you are a young artist graduating from OCAD and you go to the Toronto Outdoor Show and you manage to sell the average size you make for a few thousand, and 2 years later you're not able to make those sales, you're going to lose the faith of those people you've sold to, who will be less likely to hang that work on the wall and say, oh, you've got to get one of these pieces to their friends and colleagues. So
you do have a commitment to your clientele as well, to have consistency to the prices, so they feel like there's there's a base for the value of the work, and that it will continue to grow. Because people are, I mean, although that's not usually why people purchase work, I think it's in the back of everybody's mind what kind of an investment that's going to be down the road.
If you're paying a significant amount of money for it, you want to know that there's some reason for that. Yeah. Few people are in the business of giving their money away. So they want security. They want to know that they're paying a fair price. They're paying the same price that the last person paid and that the next person is going to pay. And that kind of consistency goes a long way in establishing the young artist as professional, consistent, here for the long term, and with the concerns of their clients in mind.
And with a long career ahead of them as well.
Yeah.
And that's not something you want to rush, and reach a point, And the Canadian market is relatively small in terms of the amount of people buying work and the amount of money there is to put into the work.
Yeah.
So they have to be realistic, I think, about that as well. What would you say, Michael?
Well, I think, my angle being an artist, I come at things, using, lateral thinking and sort of approaching things from different standpoints. And I think now we're getting into sort of the meat and potatoes of industrial conversations and terminology and procedures. And the first thing that I just really want to, the idea of a commercial gallery versus a fine art gallery. For me, my understanding is a commercial gallery is art that supports commerce. So a Warner Brothers cartoon of Bugs Bunny, if you go into a gallery and you can buy the stills from a Bugs Bunny cartoon or a Simpsons episode, to me that's what I consider commercial art, because it's art that supports commerce. And whereas fine art, for me, is art, commerce supports the art.
Right.
So it's a subtle distinction, but in the subtleties of language and positioning and relations, the idea of commercial, even in the people who make our living from the buying and selling of pictures. I've never really considered myself a commercial artist because I've never really done anything to support commerce.
Right.
Commerce has always supported me. So that's just a linguistic point that I find interesting. Another one about pricing. I think you're absolutely right about consistency and commitment. But again, applying sort of a critical. I was trained as a critical thinker, right, in conceptual art. So applying a critical look at it, to me it's a two-way street. So a collector can't expect a commitment from an artist unless that collector is making a commitment to the artist. It's a two-way street. So if there's what we love is in-depth collectors, someone who's going to isolate an artist and begin to accumulate and support that work, encourage development, also support, be like a meaningful contributor to the career by which their investment will multiply and become fruitful. So to me, it's not enough to buy a painting of an artist and expect to get a payout in 50 years of $1,000. That's unreasonable. On the other hand, if there's a sustained commitment to an artist that you believe in as an in-depth collector, I think that there should be special consideration about consistency of price and all that
So the
long term.
The collector is an active participant in the success of an artist's career.
I think for the collector that wants to be the beneficiary of the efforts of the artist and the dealer and the curators and the institutions that work with that artist, I think that there has to be an ongoing support. I think that's really important. And if there isn't that ongoing support, a collector has to relinquish the idea that they deserve something out of the simple act of purchasing a painting, because it's just one painting in a flurry of thousands of paintings that will be sold in a significant career.